And the Hamas, which seems to be a younger, more energetic movement, which took over, and they do have a territorial base in Gaza. You are right in saying Palestine is now, what, two governments, two entities. How can one succeed in negotiating with two entities, one which wants to negotiate and the other one which refuses to negotiate? So this is a major problem, and in this respect, the countries around Israel are also going to be affected by that. If you go back and look at what happened only a few weeks ago, with the breach of the border between Gaza and Egypt, okay? And you see the way the Egyptian leadership moved from one embarrassment to another and zigzagged diplomatically, initially making the point that of course we have to express solidarity with our brothers and sisters who are suffering so much, okay, but immediately afterwards they realized that the success of the Hamas, which is an offshoot of the Muslim Brothers in Gaza, is going to reverberate and impact negatively in Egypt, where the Muslim Brothers are persecuted and basically kept under a lot of pressure. So the Egyptians do have an interest to sit down with Israel, with the Jordanians, and with the PLO, Fatah, Palestinian Authority representatives to take another look at the situation. The problem with these guys, and we saw this also around the discussions leading to Annapolis and afterwards, is that they don't want yet to make kind of a public, to take a public stand and say, okay, you know, for strategic reasons, we are now on the same boat with these guys. They still try to play kind of a, I wouldn't say a double game, but the double game in the sense that they would like to be okay with everybody and see how the options are going to shape up. But you are right. I mean, the dynamics of the Arab societies, especially in the two key countries, Egypt and Saudi Arabia, are such that they are not able today to take a clear stand, which is going to say, in this struggle between the Hamas and the Fatah, we are 100% behind Fatah. No, they are maneuvering still because they still believe it's possible to get away.
Beste Kney-Tal, my name is Boris Farbrov, and I was, for a period of a week, I was in Tehran, Iran, in September. And when I came back, I noticed Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is not shouting anymore to Israel. Please, thank you.
This is not exactly my information. It was yesterday. You came too early back because yesterday they were marking the 29th anniversary of Khomeini's rise to power. And in front of 1 million people, they shouted the death to Israel, death to the United States. And this is the usual sentences. And no, he continues to shout despite the criticism and despite the debate, sometimes quite open, inside the Iranian leadership. But if you raise Iran, I would basically like to point two elements here. When we were talking about the clash between pan-Arabism and pan-Islamism, I should have gone, since my time is limited, and point out that there is also inside the radicals, there is a kind of a clear split between the Shiites radicals and the Sunni radicals. Okay, and they come together in their enmity vis-a-vis Israel or Zionism or the West, but they differ on many other issues. And each time, for example, there was a mass demonstration in Gaza in which people from the Hamas and other radicals were trying to rally support for their position against the positions of the Hamas. They were shouting to the crowd, "Who are they?" And the crowd shouted back, "They are Shia. They are Shia," which comes in the context of a Sunni society like the Gaza society, predominantly Sunni society, to be a derogatory term. Okay, so you refer to the Shia as people who are basically opposed by the mainstream of Islam, the Sunnah, and this is an additional complication. Specifically with regard to Israel, this is becoming a problem because you have a clear attempt to export Shia radicalism into Lebanon via the Hezbollah. Hezbollah is challenging Lebanese national identity and is trying to recast it in a different way, much closer to an Islamic but Shia brand, not Sunni brand. So again, what you see here, if you have a geopolitical map of the Middle East, you see a lot of fault lines, And each of these fault lines is basically responsible for a political earthquake. And in other words, the ground is moving out under the feet of everybody, and this is not conducive to a climate which facilitates a kind of a serious deliberation of options and reaching a solution in due time. So Iran is a problem. It's exporting its revolutionary ideas, Shia brand ideas of radicalism, and is, of course, this should also be mentioned because it's in the back of the minds of everybody. It's not only exporting revolution, but it's also trying to acquire the weapons of mass destruction, which are going to enable Iran to project its power well beyond its geographical confines.
Mr. Ambassador, let's turn back to the government you represent here. And hinging on to the first question, we read today in the newspapers that Barak is preparing the Israeli army to invade Gaza in order to stop, indeed, annoying for Sderot inhabitants the rocket launching. Has the government taken note of the independent report on the raid in Lebanon against Hezbollah? Has the Israeli government any idea that Hamas and the 1.5 million Gaza inhabitants will indeed stop being felt fenced in and trying to defend themselves? Wouldn't there be an alternative to invasion?
You know, I can answer you in a very typical Israeli way, Jewish way, which is to reverse the question and ask you, do you envisage an alternative? Because this alternative has been tried. I mean, I would respectfully take you back to 2005 and the decision of the Prime Minister Sharon to pull out of Gaza, to pull out physically from Gaza, all the way back to the international border. And this has been certified by the international community. And this was coming under the slogan, which was once very popular, land for peace. You pull out, you'll get peace. We pulled out 2.5 years, we couldn't get any peace, but we got 8,000 rockets into Israel. Not one, not two, 8,000 rockets. You know how many rockets were shot today, sir? 12. How many yesterday? 20. Last week, it was in the span of 3 days, 250 rockets. I'm sorry that I don't have visuals to show you how it looks. Yes, people were not killed in the recent spate of shooting, but their lives have been destroyed. Now, this is the road inside Israel, 367. This is not disputed land. Now, what is the responsibility of the government? The government has basically two options. One option is, oh, this is the way it is, you know, they don't want to coexist next to us. They don't want to develop the greenhouses which were left behind, and the international community was ready to commit money, and your government, the Dutch government, was giving money to have agriculture exports from Gaza, fruits and flowers. No, they don't want to do that. They want to shoot missiles at Israel. They want to destroy every single possibility of peaceful coexistence. So you either accept that, in which case, basically, it might be the end of the state of Israel, because if you give up to Sderot, tomorrow is going to be Ashkelon. Ashkelon, incidentally, is the city where electricity is given to Gaza. Okay? So tell me, if you remember in history, another funny conflict like the current one, in which the parties in an armed conflict, one of the parties requested by the international community, so-called international community, to provide electricity to their enemy. Now, electricity is not only something which is a convenient commodity. Everybody enjoys electricity. It's also used in the workshops where these missiles are basically assembled and manufactured and shot. And today we were lucky, and yesterday we were lucky, but one day we're not going to be lucky. And the kids are going to be killed. What we're going to do? We're going to say the Israeli government is the only one which is not acting in self-defense to ensure the peace of its population.